Hello, welcome to this video. So this one's not specifically just to do with the new firmware, although some of the features in it are part of the new firmware. But I just thought I'd have a quick sort of demonstration of how I kind of improve my workflow and speed of workflow by using a template or templates. I know one or two people have asked for me to sort of show this. So previously, I use my Deluge loads in the studio for writing, but I also use it loads for performing. And when I perform, I normally have the Deluge, I have a Roland TB03, and then some MIDI drum pads as well, which kind of play the sounds, the internal sounds from here. What I do with the sound from the TB03 is that's routed to the line in. And one of the things I had to do is every time you created a new project, was on the previous versions, before version 3.0, it was a bit of a pain because you had to create a new synth, you had to have the oscillator of the synth set to the line in, and then you only heard the sound then when the Deluge was actually playing. So there's a much more easier way of doing that now with version 3.0. There's a couple of ways of doing it, and I've got my template set up so it's always on, basically. If you watch my video on the live looper, on the new looper thing, I'll show you actually rather than making you watch something else you might not want to watch. So there's two ways of getting your audio in. One is to create an audio track, and I'll go through saving all this as a template in a second, which is you do like this. So you've got to be in song view, hold this down, hold down any pad on the clip you're going to create, press the select button, you can see it's now created audio 1. And then you're going to press learn and choose your input. Now I've got all my synths going into a small little mixer, and then I've got just the left mono output of that coming into the line in on here. Now if you want to, I've then basically just got the sound from the Deluge going out from the stereo out into my amp and speakers in my studio. If you want to be able to kind of monitor and hear the sounds coming through, you need to have it on whatever your input is, but the one with the dot after it. Okay, so that will monitor it. So let's just play. Right, so there's my TB03. So if that was right, so that's playing at the moment. Hopefully you can hear that in the background. If that's just on left, you're not going to hear it. Okay, so it needs to be on left there. So you've kind of got like some monitoring input coming in. And if I turn the volume down on the Deluge, the volume of that goes because everything's routed through here now. Okay, so just to prove that it's going through the Deluge. Okay, so that's one way of getting your audio in, but that does mean we've got a clip here that is kind of a bit redundant. It's just there using, bringing the audio in. Okay, so there's a much easier way to do it so that your audio is kind of basically always on and it's not going to take up one of your audio tracks. So we need to be in arranger view or arranger mode to do this. So you kind of like you say, you can monitor the audio without needing a clip in the song view. So all we're going to do is hold down an empty audition pad, press the select knob. Okay, that's going to create an audio track there. We're going to do the same thing as we did previously, do learn and set that to left there, and then that's it. That's all you got to do. So if we now go back into song view, and then if I play the 303, or indeed any of my other synths that I'm playing now, we can hear them without having to have a dedicated audio track for it. So that is how I have kind of like one of my templates set up. So all you're going to do to create a template is, let me just load mine in. So I've got it here, it's just named template, amazingly enough. So I've got that set up. You see I've got one track in here at the moment, which I'll talk about in a second. I've set it up like I've just showed you. So when I play any of my hardware, okay, it comes through straight away. So it's always there like that. What I've done with this is I've got a synth in here, which I've mapped to, if I just bend this round here, okay, nano controller here. There's a video on my website about how I did that, but that synth is, this is kind of like the control. So this is my that's my filter frequency, that's the resonance, then I've got LFOs and all sorts mapped into that, just so I've got some hands-on control of the synth, which I kind of like. So by doing it that way and saving it as a template, it means I don't have to map all of that, because there's quite a lot of controls to map in there. So these things, you only have to do them once. Then once you've saved them, they are just there straight away. So, I mean, how you set your template up is really down to you. It's up to you with how you have your workflow. I mean, you might want to create 4 or 5 different instances of the synth and map all of those to the controller, because what you remember is the MIDI mapping is specific to that clip. Okay, so it will only, the MIDI mapping I've done for this, even if I duplicate that down, it won't be MIDI mapped to the second clip. So you would have to kind of go through that. But if you think to yourself, but in a song, I'm probably going to use 5 or 6 different synth sounds, then you would want to kind of map all of those out. And I say you've only got to do it once, and then it's done. You might want to have all your MIDI tracks kind of in here. So let's say, for an example, so let's create a MIDI clip here, a MIDI track here. So which one is, well, it's not turning at the moment, but that's my MS-20. Okay, my next one is, if you do that on MIDI 3, that's playing my TB-03, and so on. So I've got, I think I'm using about 7 or 8 different bits of hardware. So I could also have all of those on here, and then I might want to kind of colour those differently, so I know my MIDI tracks are always kind of pink, and CV tracks might be yellow or whatever. Just depends how you want your thing to load up. Personally, I don't do that because I'm not necessarily going to use all those. So my template is, at the moment, I mean, it might change, but my template is pretty, let's just load it in again, is pretty basic. It's just got the audio routed through it, and it's got this synth mapped. And that's kind of like my starting point then of a track. So once you've loaded your template in, all you got to make sure you do is then when you save it, so you click save, obviously it will come up with what it will want to call it is template 2. Sorry, just stuff that up. We'll want to call it template 2. So all you would do is just save it as a, whatever your song title is, or, you know, song idea, or whatever you want to call it. Just give it a different name so you're not overwriting that template. And then basically then every time you turn it on, you just load in your template as your first thing. And then you're all right, you're good to go, like I say. So your template is basically just, it's down to your workflow. You know, I mean, everybody's would be different. You can make it as simple or as complicated as you like. You might say to yourself, well, I always use an 808. So, okay, if you're always going to use an 808, let's get the kit in there. And I've actually named my drums now, which you can also do now. So there's the 808. Okay, which is on that track there. Which it's now named. So all I would do then, if I want to keep it like that, I would press save, and then if I want to overwrite it, I would just get rid of template kind of version 2 and save it, overwrite it, save it on that, and then next time I load up, turn on, load up, that's there. So for example, I'm coming into my studio thinking, right, I've got an idea, and let's get something going. Switch it on. Oops. Load up my template, and then straight away my audio is ready to go. I've got my, let's turn the brightness down. I've got my synth mapped to my controller, and so on. Anyway, I'm jabbering on as I usually do, but hopefully that makes sense with your templates and you can have a bit of fun with those. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share the videos around, all that nonsense, and check my music out, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.